Thank you, and good morning. This is a really nice venue you have chosen here today, so I'm looking forward to tell you a little bit about Visma and also try to give you a brief introduction to cloud computing. Okay, let's start with Visma. We are a large Nordic IT company, now also present in the Baltics and also in the Netherlands. Our headquarters is in Oslo, and we have become quite large the recent years, more than 7,000 employees and still growing. And we serve more than 400,000 customers across the Nordic region. And just to give you a little bit of understanding of why Visma acquired what was called FMS. Well, first of all, we believe that the Baltics is a really interesting market. It is quite close to the Nordic region. There are a lot of cultural similarities. And it's also small countries, which is part of the Visma strategy to be really good at small niche local markets. And when we first met with FMS a few years ago, we saw that it was a really good fit with what Visma does elsewhere, to be leading in ERP and HRM software for both large accounts and public sector. We also believe that cloud is coming everywhere in all the IT industry across the world. And that will also happen at some point in the Baltic region. And that's why we also see a really interesting journey going forward. And Visma is actually now one of the largest ERP and HRM software providers in the Northern Europe region. Okay, I will try to explain a little bit about cloud computing and what that's all about. And just to put it into a context, I think it's important that we also look a little bit on what are the changes in the markets, what are the changes in technology, and what is actually driving this cloud computing stuff. And the first observation is that we are facing a new generation of people who we can call the net generation or the millennial generation. And this new generation, they are actually born and raised with IT. As you can see, they start really early to learn how to use IT. And that means that we are facing a generation that has really high requirements for IT. They have different expectations to working situations. What we see in Norway and other countries is that the young people starting to work now, they have somewhat different requirements for the working place. They don't want to work from 8 to 4. They are willing to work in the evening or in the night and in the weekends, but they require more flexibility in work. And one of the reasons for this is that everybody now has some sort of smartphone or pad or something like that, which means that the borderlines between private hours and working hours is gradually diminishing. We also see that the world is getting more and more globalized. And a few years ago, for the IT industry, it was really good to have the best technology. And that is, of course, important still today. But at the same time, we see that only having the best technology is not a competitive advantage anymore. This picture is from the largest IT market in the world. It's from India. And in India, there are more than 1.3 million programmers that hold a master degree or higher. And that means that some of the world's largest IT companies, they are based in India, and they do a lot of the programming, a lot of the technology development for all other IT companies. And that leads to a situation where IT is getting commoditized. It means technology is cheap, it's easy to develop new technology, and also due to the fact that we have this globalization phenomenon, it's easier to reach out to new markets all the time. And that means that access to new technology, access to new products and services is more available than ever before. And then we see another change in technology, and that's the speed of technological change. And if we just look at some really known technologies and see how long time does it actually take to reach a market audience of 50 million users. And if you start with the radio up there, which was marketed in the 1920s, it took 38 years before 50 million people worldwide had the radio. And then the television set from the 40s, 50s, that took only 13 years. And in the 90s, the web was launched, and just after 4 years, 50 million people had access to web technology. And on the top right corner there, you see the iPod, maybe one of the most successful product launches of all time. It took only 2 years before they had 50 million customers. And now moving into a cloud company like Facebook. They also only took 2 years to reach 50 million users. But after 3 years, they had 500 million users. And today, I believe they have something like 1.3 billion users worldwide. And that has never been possible before. And cloud computing is the reason why you can get so many customers so fast. We also see a trend that people are connecting more and more. And the use of social media is growing quite fast. We have Facebook, LinkedIn, different video channels, Twitter, all of these networks that connect people. And that means that the end user or the customers actually get more and more power because they can connect in a new way, and it's not only the companies that provide information anymore. And we see that using social media for professional businesses is actually quite useful, because in that way it's possible to reach out to all your audience, and you can get feedback on what are the features that need to be developed, what are improvements in quality, and what are the wishes for future products and services. And then we have a really global revolution, and that's the use of mobility. There are more than 2 billion users worldwide that has access to smartphones, and it's growing really, really fast. And that means that we can connect to everything all the time. These figures, they are from Europe, and 75% of all the inhabitants in Europe, they have a mobile broadband subscriptions. And we spend as much as 90 minutes, I think is growing that as well, on our mobile devices every day. And what do we actually use that mobile technology for? It's a lot of entertainment. There's games and connecting on social media and browsing the web. But the time has also come that we should offer more and more business applications, because people have their phones with them all the time. And it is really good to be able to do simple tasks like registration of data or getting information out of the applications on a mobile device. Okay, just a little story from where I grew up, because this is a video rental shop quite close to my house in Oslo. And like 15, 20 years ago, it was really nice to go down here and look at all the new movies and choose the one that we found most likable. And then we had to pay for this. It was quite expensive. I rent this videotape, bring it home, look at it, and then return it the next day. And this business was quite big in Norway, and basically in all countries in the world a few years ago. There were more than 2,000 video rental shops in Norway. And here in Norwegian it says, here you can also buy sushi and rent videos. But even though This shop is now gone. It's out of business. And what has happened to a whole industry of video rental shops is that they have been disrupted by cloud technology. And services like Netflix and other streaming technologies means that we can sit wherever we are. We can sit in our home, on the bus, on the train, wherever, and just get access to all the movies in the world and stream them online. And why I use this example is that Netflix and these other streaming services are probably the best known cloud services that everybody actually use. So I will try to explain to you what cloud is all about. The challenge with explaining what cloud is that if you ask 100 different IT experts, you will probably get 100 different answers. But I think it's important just to say and agree upon what cloud is not. And first of all, it's important to understand that cloud in itself is not about technology. You can't find a single circuit card or a single database or a script or something. That is the cloud. So in itself, cloud is not technology. Another misunderstood conception of cloud is that it's running software on a server and then you have cloud computing. But in fact, offering software on a server, that has been done for 50 years. It's called ASP, on-demand hosting, and it's not really that important in the cloud thinking. So that leaves us actually to new business models. So cloud computing is really about creating new value to customers. And that's probably the most important takeaway today, is that cloud is about business models. And a business model is basically about how do you actually bring and create value for the end users. And to understand what disruptions in business models is all about, I think we should go back to history and look at other great disruptions that has happened with in the terms of business models innovation. And if we go really far back, I can ask the question, do you know who invented this light bulb? If anybody knows, please answer, but maybe I should just say it. It's, if you look at Wikipedia or look it up, you won't find the right answer, because I actually have this light bulb Hall of Fame. And most people believe it was Edison that created and invented the light bulb. But if you look at this list, he was all the way down here in 1879. And a lot of other people has also invented and created the light bulb before him. So the question is, why is Edison regarded as the inventor of the light bulb? Well, the answer is quite simple, because in 1879, this was a great invention. You could get lighting, electric lighting, but the problem is that no one had electricity. So by just having this light bulb, you can actually make it usable. And Edison, which is known for his ingenious way of innovation, he understood that if we are going to sell this light bulb, we need to invent electricity. So he did that, and they created these large generators that was placed inside the cities, inside the factories and close to people's houses. Large machines covering all of this room, run by some coal or oil energy. And then there was a turbine, and they could start to generate electricity, and you could actually sell this light bulb. And this was a revolution. This is what is called the second industrial revolution. And what happened is that he created these electricity machines for each and every home and each and every factory that needed electricity. So the factory owners, they could actually start to have lighting in the nights and evenings, they could heat up the buildings, they could automate the production, and they could actually have great value of this invention. But there was one big challenge with this, and it is that they used a technology called direct current, DC current. And you cannot transfer DC current over great distances. So one guy who worked for Edison, called Nikola Tesla, he actually confronted Edison and said, what if we instead change our technology to something called alternating current, AC current? That means that we could transfer the electricity from one place and into the cities. We only need one large electricity generator, not one in each and every factory. But Edison, he didn't want to listen to this, so Tesla, he started a new company that actually built one large power plant outside the cities where they had access to coal, they had access to water, and they built up these networks of electricity. And in the beginning, this was really difficult to sell to the factory owners, because how should the factory owners trust someone that said that they can deliver power through a network and you don't no longer control the electricity yourself? But as the years passed, they truly disrupted this technology, and today all electricity is produced in this manner. We can connect to each and every socket all over the world. We can get access to this power. We don't care who produces this, where it's produced, and we only pay by the amount of power that we need. So what does this story has to do with cloud computing? Well, in 2006, Google created this really large data center houses somewhere in the middle of the US, where they had access to power, they had a cold river that could cool down the systems, and they had access to the internet backbone. And they were thinking exactly the same way as Tesla. Why should every company in the world run their own data centers? Why should they have their own computers, the servers, maintain these servers, upgrade these servers, and do all the maintenance needed? So they were thinking that if we build these large data centers and we put like hundreds of thousands of cheap servers inside of these buildings, we can actually deliver computing power through the internet. So this is the beginning of cloud computing. And as you can see, it's not very exciting stuff, but this is the first cloud power plant ever built. So that's the basic key concept of cloud computing, that you don't no longer need all the computing power yourself. You don't longer need to have data centers or servers or do maintenance of hardware or software upgrades. You leave that to the cloud vendor, and you can only get the data capacity that you need delivered online through the internet. So we are facing a quite rapid change in the history of IT, and we know that the future will be something to do with cloud computing. If we look at these companies that predicts the future and spend a lot of time of analyzing what will the future of IT look like, these are the figures for the growth of cloud computing in the future. As you can see, McKinsey here is expecting 300% growth. Morgan Stanley says 50% yearly growth each and every year. Forrester has a really large impact on this. And what they actually are saying is that cloud computing, both for consumers, like private persons, but also for businesses, will face a huge and rapid growth the next years. So, putting this cloud stuff into the IT perspective, we should just spend a little time talking about disruptions, because all technologies, they go through this S-curve of development. They start here, really slow, unmature technology. It is very costly, is low quality, and is very few users. But as time passes, you will face growth, and at some point you will face really rapid growth, and then in the end you won't be able to innovate anymore on the technology, and we will only start to compete on price, and the technology will at some point diminish. This is just the standard way of talking about technological innovations. So disruptions, which means something that changes a technology or something that changes the market completely, is when this existing technology is starting to decline, someone else is creating a new technology, and at some point the technology B, which is disruptive, will outperform the existing technology. So if you look at the music industry, for instance, to just illustrate what this really means, we have had a few disruptions in the music industry for the last years. A while ago, everybody had cassettes and LPs. The technology was created in the 20s and was the general way of distributing music and the way people consume the music up till the 80s here, when the CD came in and music was digitalized. And in just a few years, in the end of the 80s and the start of the 90s, no one bought LPs and cassettes anymore, and CD was the dominant way to distribute music. And then internet came, and the MP3 and iTunes revolutionized the way the music was distributed with MP3 files, and you could actually share and download all the music that you wanted. And now we are facing a new disruption, which is called streaming, and streaming services like Spotify and Pandora and Wimp and Tidal and all of this, which is disrupting the iTunes and MP3 music industry. And these shifts happens faster and faster and faster for every year. So what we're seeing up here is cloud computing used for distributing music. So in our industry, as a software company and technology company, we see these changes also. In the 60s, in the 70s, mainframes was the dominant way to produce data and power. And in the 80s, with the introduction of the PC and the Microsoft Windows, everybody moved away from the mainframes and started to own their own computers. And now we are leaving what we call the traditional PC era and entering the cloud computing industry. We will probably own our computers in the future as well, but most of the products and services that we consume will be delivered through the internet, through cloud computing. We talked a little bit about video rental shops like Netflix, online, social media, but if you also add the banking, you can see a lot of these cloud services that are offered for everyone. But most of them are actually offered as consumer products and services, not so much for businesses. And that's the way all these innovations always happen. They start with consumers and then they grow into the professional business industry. So we believe that we are just starting on the shift. It will take 10, 15, 20 years from the shift from traditional IT to cloud computing for professional businesses. This model is the only one I have seen that tries to explain the concepts in a short way of what cloud is all about. And the first thing to really understand is that cloud computing is about delivering services, not about products. And by that we mean that you probably know the term SaaS, which is called software as a service. It really means that the software is delivered through the internet. instead of being hosted on the local premises. So that's the first concept of cloud. And then we have these other layers, which is not so important to discuss today, but that's about where the hosting is and how the platform works. But everything is delivered as a service through the internet. And you're probably familiar with these terms. The public cloud, like Google, is a public cloud vendor. They have one large, or they have many, data centers that all the customers actually share the same resources and technology. That's a public cloud. Amazon, the web shop, they are actually the world's largest public cloud vendor. And then you have this private cloud, which is important for different industries, like healthcare industry or other governmental industry, or where you have special requirements for safety, for regulations, for secrecy. You probably don't want to share all your content with the rest of the ones in the public cloud, so you have your own private data center. And then we have what we call the hybrid cloud, which is a partial move to the cloud. It means that the core system still remains on-premise, but a lot of the modules that reaches out to all the employees or to all the customers is moved to the cloud because it's easier to distribute software in a cloud environment than an on-prem local environment. And the hybrid cloud is probably the way that we will see most usage of for professional businesses for the next 5 to 10 years. And then there are some essentials that's important to distinguish cloud from traditional IT. The first here is virtualization, which basically means that in the cloud world, you would like to take away all the complexity of technology. So we don't need to worry about where the servers are, upgrades of server, change of a CPU or RAM, or upgrade of the operating system. All this is delivered and maintained by the cloud vendor. The second here, elasticity, means that the services that you are consuming, sometimes you need more data power, sometimes you need less data power. And the scalability of this usage should be done automatically. And a really important concept of cloud is self-service. You would like enable the end user to do as much as possible online, so that you don't need a lot of help to change your settings or to upgrade to new users and onboard new users. You would like the end users to be able to do that themselves. If you think of Facebook, everything is self-service. You don't need help to create accounts or connect with anyone. And there is a change in the pricing model. As cloud is about services, it means that you no longer buy and own the licenses of the software. You merely subscribe to it. So it's a leasing model where you pay per use. And the last one, available everywhere on any device, is really important. Cloud is about letting the user interact with the software, whether it's on a laptop or a desktop or an iPad or your smartphone. So all cloud services needs to be available on some mobile device. Okay, so if we think about cloud in a larger context, not only of the IT industry, we can see that it actually disrupts all businesses globally. If we start with the newspapers, they are really struggling because the sales of the physical newspaper is declining. And people consume news online, but not only from the news agencies. They also get the news from LinkedIn, they get the news from Twitter feeds, and from other social media. So cloud has actually disrupted the whole newspaper industry. And at least in Norway, they are really struggling to find out how should we be able to deliver news and make money of this when the physical newspaper is gone. The stockbrokers, they had one really important thing to sell, and that was connections. So a few years ago, they had these valuable networks where they could connect the seller with the buyer, and they could earn a lot of money on that. But today, everybody could be their own stockbroker because you can just tap into your online bank, and there you can start to buy and sell your stocks. The record companies we talked about, the encyclopedias, once a really large industry, but completely disrupted because of cloud services like Wikipedia, where you get all the information in the world for free. And no one really buys encyclopedias anymore. The bookstores, people now download the books on Kindle, on their iPad, and they read it on their smartphones. And people also buy all the books online. So the traditional bookstore is actually disrupted. The telephone companies, well, they're struggling with making a part of the value that is created here, because IP phone services like Skype, like WhatsApp, is actually the ones who actually generates the most of the value created. And the travel agencies, which is in Norway basically a business that has gone out of the market because people can actually order all the travels online themselves. There is no value created from the travel agencies. So these are just a few examples of businesses that will be disrupted in some way, affected by cloud computing. But the positive thing is that there is a lot of opportunities in this. The only thing that we know for sure is that most industries and most businesses need to change the way they serve the customers and move into the cloud computing. And then there will be a lot of positive opportunities. Okay, that was my last slide. So I hope you understood a little bit about the cloud concept. It is coming and we are using it every day. So thank you for your attention.